Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Israel on high alert as Iran holds off on a strike, playing what could be a waiting game. Meanwhile, the United States trying to prevent an all-out war in the Middle East. The Biden administration saying a ceasefire deal in Gaza could prevent an attack by Iran, as Israel tries to make sure Hamas shows up for the new round of talks. Here at home, less than 3 months to go before Election Day, we're going to take a look at where the race stands and why there are positive signs for both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. And our Studio 5 conversation with Kevin Costner about his film Horizon, an American Saga, set over the course of 15 years in the Old West. All those stories and more today on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin in the Middle East on a busy Wednesday where Israel is still on high alert for a possible strike by Iran or Hezbollah. But some say Iran is playing a waiting game, looking for the right time to strike as tensions increase in Israel, even as the United States is still working to prevent a regional war. CBN's Chris Mitchell brings us the story now. He's reporting from Jerusalem.
There are reports Iran is preparing its missile and drone units for an assault, just as it did before its massive attack in April. Some in Israeli intelligence predict Iran could attack within days. But the U.S. is still working diplomatic efforts to get Iran to back off. The situation is described as fluid. It's more than just diplomacy. The U.S. has also deployed a vast armada of naval and air assets to the Middle East to defend Israel. But the Pentagon is making clear it's not going on the offense.
We are not looking, the United States is not looking to engage in offensive operations and again, potentially spark a wider regional conflict. Our focus is on de-escalating tensions.
The Defense Department also revealed that 8 U.S. service members were injured in a drone attack on a base in Syria last week. Iranian militia are believed to be behind the attack. The soldiers treated for smoke inhalation and traumatic brain injury. 3 are back on duty. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has reportedly canceled a trip to the Middle East due to the instability. But he also approved a weapons sale of more than $20 billion to Israel. On Tuesday, President Joe Biden signed on to a joint statement with the leaders of the UK, France, Germany, and Italy, calling on Iran to stand down its ongoing threats of a military attack against Israel. The U.S. and other mediators are also trying to make sure Hamas shows up for ceasefire talks set for Thursday. Hamas is balking because it accuses Israel of demanding new conditions for a ceasefire. Israel's prime minister says his government has only put forth clarifications, not new conditions. President Biden is banking on an agreement to bring peace to the region. Tuesday, he told reporters he expects Iran to hold off on a retaliatory strike if a ceasefire deal is reached. Some analysts, including Yigal Karman of Memory, believe Iran doesn't want a war.
They are an unstable country. No one likes the regime of the Ayatollahs. They have their paid people, the IRGC, the Basij, but other than that, if there is chaos in Tehran, they are finished. They know that. Their economy is going away. All the oil, everything. The nuclear sites are going to go. This is a high price to pay. So they don't want to mess with us. They want attrition. That's all. They want to scare us.
Yet all the waiting has taken a toll on Israelis.
Israelis are very tense, I must say. And it almost feels like they say, hey, you either attack us or you don't. I mean, they're tired of waiting. It seems like it's very similar to the Six-Day War type of waiting when Israel waited for 3 weeks. And, well, the time will show. What will happen?
Albert Vexler of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast believes it's a critical time to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
He says, if I forget you, O Jerusalem. So, I mean, is it important to pray, to remember, to lift Jerusalem as our highest joy, as the Bible commands us? I think it is.
Chris Mitchell joins us now to continue our coverage. Chris, I'll begin with a two-part question. What more can you tell us about the reports of Iran preparing for a possible attack with missiles and drones? And then, even if Iran doesn't want an all-out war, could they still launch a direct strike on Israel?
Well, they could launch a direct strike on Israel. One of our resources, Alma Research up there on the northern border, has been showing that they have a vast arsenal and even showing us many of the missile sites they could in western Iran to reach Israel. Even if they don't want a war, that could. The question remains, I think, Ephraim, if they don't want a war, then if they strike, then they could provoke a war. Israel is saying that whether it's 1 or 1,000, Israel will attack if anything is launched. So they're on a high readiness, and Halevi, the IDF chief, says they're on both defense and offense if necessary. In terms of those reports about, attacks, that's reportedly exactly what Iran was doing back in April when they launched 350 projectiles against Israel. So it remains to be seen whether or not that is really a ploy or actually something they're actually going to do. We'll all waiting and watching, as Albert Vexler said in our report, for two or 3 weeks now.
Iran's nuclear program has faded a bit in the headlines in light of all that's going on. What is the status of the program? What do you know?
Well, right now it seems like they're on the verge of going nuclear. They could break out to weapons-grade uranium, enriched uranium, and that would be 90%. They're only a short step away from that. They have the ballistic missiles that could reach either Israel, actually even Europe as well. Whether or not they can miniaturize a nuclear device on a missile remains to be seen. But one reason Iran may not want to go to war is a concern that Israel would attack its nuclear facilities. The IDF says they won't rule that out right now. And so it seems to be this is the crown jewel of Iran's military program, their nuclear program. And they may not want to jeopardize it right now, especially at this particular time.
President Biden has shared that he thinks Iran will hold off on a strike if there is a ceasefire in Gaza. Does the Israeli government think there's a realistic chance of a deal right now?
I think there's maybe two minds about that, Ephraim. I think some people in the government believe there's really needs to be a push to do that. Others, and I think that would be represented by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, believes that a deal would thwart the war aims, and it would actually decrease the realistic chances of getting the hostages. It's going to be in Doha, Qatar, and that's going to be where Qatar, Egypt, the U.S., Israel will get together. The question remains, is Hamas going to show up? Some people are billing this as the last chance for negotiations. The White House is saying it's a final bridging proposal, and Prime Minister Netanyahu is denying a New York Times report that he's actually changing the conditions, and he says they haven't changed those conditions, but it's really Hamas that is really changing the terms of these negotiations. Hamas remains committed to having all IDF forces withdraw from the Gaza Strip and end to the war, and that's something, those are non-starters for Israel.
Chris, the fighting is still pretty intense between Israel and Hamas. What has happened in just the last few days, if you can share?
Well, first time missiles have been fired since May. There were only two, but one landed in the sea, one landed inside the Gaza Strip. Hamas claimed responsibility. The IDF says right now that Hamas doesn't have many long-range rockets left. They have a new push into Khan Yunis. They said there's been over 1,000 terrorists killed since the beginning of their operation down south in Rafah. So they're operating throughout the Gaza Strip, and everywhere they go, they're finding weapons and tunnels, and they're still on the hunt for Yahya Sinwar. He's Israel's public enemy #1. And just reportedly, as we talked about yesterday, they almost caught him, but they're still on his trail.
I want to go back to your report at the start of the program. We heard from Albert Vexler of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast. How widespread is the prayer movement for Israel now, and how quickly is it growing?
Well, he says it's global. It's exploding. It's organic. The people that I talked to, including Albert, they say it's not organized by man, it's Holy Spirit-led. There's really been a foundation that has been laid for decades about praying for Israel, but right now this is exploding. One of the things that Albert talked to us about as well is probably one of the most important prayer breakfasts they have. It's going to be in New York City on September 15th and 16th, and they're expecting a tsunami of anti-Semitism when the UN General Assembly meets, and they want to have people there representing Israel and in prayer as a bulwark against that anti-Semitism.
All right, Chris Mitchell reporting for us from Jerusalem. We appreciate your insights, and we here continue to pray for you and the team there on the ground in Israel. Thank you. Coming up, with less than 3 months to go before Election Day, where do the presidential candidates really stand with voters? We're going to take a look at the state of the race and the good and bad news for both sides when we come back. Less than 3 months from the 2024 Election Day, and at this point, there is some good news for both candidates in a race that could go down to a wire finish. CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody, is on the story.
As we head towards the fall, there's one word that is music to the ears of Kamala Harris.
Vice President Kamala Harris gaining momentum. Gaining momentum. Gaining momentum. Gaining momentum.
But look, this momentum, this remarkable momentum.
That momentum is more than talk. It's showing up in the polls. A recent New York Times Siena poll shows Harris leading Trump by 4 points in each of the 3 key Rust Belt swing states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If she wins all 3, she'll win the presidency. The head pollster at Rasmussen Reports warns against reading too much, though, into swing state polls.
Swing states do tend to be messier than national polls because there's smaller sample available. Generally, the polls are smaller. You layer that on top of, like, you could shift weightings around, you could play some tricks. You can kind of make those look like whatever you want.
Still, with Biden gone and Kamala drawing big crowds and better numbers, the race has clearly changed. Tim Murtaugh served as Donald Trump's communication director in 2020.
A bounce that goes on for 3 weeks or a month is no longer a bounce and should be considered sort of the state of the race.
Right now, Harris is trying to strike a tougher tone on issues where she's vulnerable, like saying she will crack down on illegal immigrant gang activity at the U.S.-Mexican border.
I went after the transnational gangs, the drug cartels, and human traffickers. I prosecuted them in case after case, and I won.
Trump pushed back this week during an interview with Elon Musk on X.
You have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5 months that they can do something, but they won't do anything.
The Trump campaign is hoping voters will believe that Kamala Harris is far too liberal. But that means he'll have to stay focused on the message.
Discipline's important here. It's a campaign that has to be disciplined, but also a candidate as well.
The race has been, in fact, completely upended and twisted around. And so now the task that is in front of the Trump campaign is that they've got to define or redefine Kamala Harris, if you will, over the course of the next 80-some days. And all of the material is laid out right there in front of her.
And while the polls show Kamala doing much better than Biden, there's still good news for Team Trump at this late stage.
What about the fundamentals, the underlying fundamentals in the race, in immigration, the economy? What's your sense there in terms of how Trump is doing?
The issues that matter most are a basket that is favorable to the MAGA platform. When we ask the question, which party do you trust more on the issue of the economy? The Republicans win by upper single digits. Inflation, they win by double digits. The border, they win by double digits.
Good news for Trump, but Kamala will probably continue to get good polling news after next week when the Democrats hold their convention, complete with Hollywood glitz and A-list celebrities. David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
Shifting gears and taking you back in time to the Old West as we talk to Kevin Costner about his film Horizon, along with other members of the cast. We'll have that Studio 5 conversation for you coming up right after this. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Kevin Costner's Horizon and American Saga is a passion project that he funded with nearly $40 million of his own money. I traveled to Los Angeles to sit down with Costner and several members of the cast, including Luke Wilson, Isabel Furman, and Ella Hunt.
All I'm trying to do is get as many of us as I can, as far as I can.
If you could just, who your character is and how you best describe him. We can start with Luke. You're Matthew.
I play Matthew Van Weyden, the captain of the wagon train. He's got kind of an interesting job because he's been elected to this position, but he doesn't necessarily want it. But very simply, he's just trying to get, all these pioneers and settlers, across from western Kansas to this, town in Arizona that may or may not exist.
Yeah.
I play Diamond Kittredge. She's one of 3 sisters who's been dragged by her father, played by none other than Will Patton, across the West to this hopeful dream of, the perfect life out in the West. And she's definitely a woman ahead of her time, very rebellious, and starts to realize that she may want something different for herself than what her dad has set out for her.
Yeah.
I play Juliet, who is an English woman traveling west with her husband Hugh. They are traveling towards this dream of a life, and they are naive about what their journey might entail.
Nice. Now, Isabel, I've heard you say that this is one of your most favorite characters to play.
Yes.
Why?
Well, you're just getting introduced to Diamond in chapter 1, but when I first read all 4 scripts, I was just really honored that Kevin felt like I could grow with this character so much. I mean, the saga spans 15 years, and we really have planted a lot of Easter eggs in chapter 1 and chapter 2. But, what's different about Diamond is that her journey west is what shapes the woman that she grows into and becomes. And so it's been really incredibly difficult and fun to play a young woman who is forming her opinion and view on the world at a time like this, and how that shapes, the world that she starts to build and the town she starts to build.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just going to be definitely a big payoff for audiences as they continue to grow with these characters. And I think a lot of all the characters have their own journeys, but I really feel very grateful that Kevin trusted me with Diamond. I mean, she's great.
Speaking of Kevin trusting Luke, so Kevin taps you to play this role, and you learn how long this project has been in his heart and how committed and passionate he is about it. What does that do to you when accepting the role?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. And at the time, I didn't know that he'd first had the idea in 1988. But knowing that it was going to be 4 parts, and knowing that, he did tell me that the day he hired me that, he'd put a lot of his own money up for it. So, for me, that just makes me want to say, hey, whatever you need, you got it. And I think we all had that feeling with Kevin, where we just realized he had so much going on. You just want to get your assignment and deliver the goods, and hopefully more than he even saw on the page, to give him more than he could expect.
For the women in the room, what does this story say about the role of women? They're very pronounced in this story. What do you think it says?
I think Kevin is sort of an archivist who has been collecting over the last 20, 30 years the unsung stories of this time. He is truly fascinated with this time. And me and Isabel both had a wonderful time reading diaries of the women on the Oregon Trail. You can find them online. They're amazing. And so many of the stories that I read, or the diaries that I read, elements of these women's stories are injected into these films. And we don't see women as much as maybe we'd like to in Westerns, or we haven't, but they were very much there. And it's just a thrill to get to play meaty, delicious characters, and to play women that feel so familiar and yet are dealing with a completely different set of circumstances. And for me, Juliet was a dream character, like a character this kind of character I've dreamt about playing since I was a little girl. Like difficult and a challenge to love at times, and really protective of her husband, but ultimately a survivor and gritty and moral, and just I couldn't believe that I got to do this with Kevin.
There's also a really cool element to our characters, is that, you know, the women in the film are all stand out in such fierce ways, but our characters really have such an interaction and a bond with each other, and we
really
both
inform each other's growth.
Exactly, and that has been really cool to see as we've been, you know, getting to see movie 2, is that, you know, that plays in such a beautiful way, and it starts in movie 1, and so I'm really excited for people to see all this whole saga and what Kevin has created for these women.
Chapter 1 of Horizon and American Saga is available right now on streaming platforms, and be sure to join us tonight for a special edition of Studio 5. I've got a one-on-one conversation with Academy Award-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr. He's talking about his breakout roles, his family, his faith walk, and how he's managed to find hope after dealing with accusations, arrests, lawsuits, plea deals, and settlements. You can catch the special edition of Studio 5 tonight on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 8 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, or you can watch it on YouTube. We're coming right back with an encouraging word for your Wednesday. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is presence. Consider this. Prioritize being in God's presence and watch problems begin to pale in comparison. Even if they don't change, fixing your eyes on the God who created you will remind you of this big truth. He's bigger than all of your problems. He's bigger than all of your fears. God is bigger than any mountain you can or cannot see. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find them online. That's cbnnews.com. Take a moment and let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We'll see you back here tomorrow.